So, you know all about the modern day BFSI enterprises have today multiple channels with lot of offerings and touch points. So we know that in today's world of automation and AI, customers need instant solution to make quick decisions, and these decisions can be made based on the most important aspect which we all know, that is trust. So building and maintaining trust in the BFSI sector is an ongoing process which we all know that requires commitment and learnings towards ethical behavior, transparency, and customer-centric approach. Today, Economic Times BFSI, in collaboration with Sharpsell.AI, is organizing today's seminar to elevate better customer interaction and maximize sales opportunities. Here it's my pleasure to invite Amol Dethe, the editor of ETBFSI, to share a welcome note. I request Amol to join on the stage.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Ashish, and thank you so much for being part of Economic Times BFSI.com. I will just talk about three quick things. First is ETBFSI.com, which is nothing but a baby of Economic Times, which is taking forward the legacy of Economic Times. So as all of you are implementing digital and the innovations at your companies, even Economic Times and the Times Group also decided of bringing innovation into the news a couple of years back, and we obviously operate in couple of verticals, as you know that. One is the print, second is the television, and third is the digital. So in the digital, what we did is, rather than having one common website, which we already have, we started opening up different websites for different sectors so that we can talk about the particular sector in quite detail. So that's how ETBFSI covers the whole BFSI space. And we not only cover the large MD and CEOs, which is generally the case otherwise, but also the CROs, CTOs, CXOs, and even the tailors. And we try to bring their stories at the etbfsi.com. Similarly, we have ETHR, ET Automobile, ET Telecom, ET Energy vertical. So I'm heading ETBFSI and etcfo.com. We are the leader specifically in the BFSI space, and our page views actually goes more than 1 million every month. So that's about ETBFSI. We also operate in 2 to 3 areas. One is obviously writing articles, which is quite easy for us because that's where the integral part of the media is. But we also do a lot of video interviews, podcasts, and we believe in curating content and talking about the trending topics. And that's why we curate such small conferences once in a quarter, and maybe 1 or 2 big events once in a year, where we discuss the large topics and in detail in terms of what's happening, and we bring the stakeholders of it. The beauty of such events is sometimes in the large event you don't know whom to meet, how to manage your calendars, but in the small events you actually know everybody. And what I have always seen in the small events is it becomes a gathering, because one CRO knows the other CRO, and they keep talking about how they work together in previous organizations. So we feel very engaged bringing all these people together. Talking about today's topic, which is artificial intelligence, we thought we'll discuss this topic in detail. Last quarter, when we had another knowledge session, we discussed security. So whenever we talk about, I think, AI, I used to make a joke, when people are using artificial intelligence, I used to say, okay, let them use artificial intelligence, I will use mine. but artificial intelligence today is infinite. There is, I think specifically if you look at BFSI, there is not a single area where AI is not being used. In fact, we started using AI for our own websites, and we try to understand which reader is coming from where and what kind of content he's liking or he's reading on our website. There are so many examples when we specifically speak about the AI, and I was recently going through the report which was compiled by the HBR, which has a great review specifically about the Ant Financial, which is known as the largest fintech in Asia. What it said is, whether selling investments, selling insurance, or selling wealth, Ant Financial doesn't have a single person who sells these products physically. They sell everything through AI. And that's the kind of strongest AI which they built specifically into two parts, which is strong AI and the weak AI. Uh, AI is so big that the revenue of, Ant Financial is so big that it generates, the value of Ant Financial is $150 billion, which is half the size of JP Morgan. And they did that just in 7 to 8 years. So the opportunities specifically in the AI world are infinite. And on one side, it makes me very happy that whole BFSI segment and every company in the BFSI is using AI quite aggressively. But I think how to add a human touch to it, because data is changing and evolving every day. And in fact, just before starting this session, we were exchanging notes, and Vidya ma'am, in fact, touched that topic about the human touch and the physical aspect of data. I would like her to explain more, and I'm looking forward to listen to her. So the opportunities are immense in AI. In fact, all the regulators are also looking at it. Government is also trying to set up the whole AI ecosystem. Today itself in the monetary policy, RBI announced that they're going to set up cloud institute monitored by RBI itself, which means that a lot of work is going to happen specifically in data and AI. And that's why we believe that this particular topic is quite interesting, and we look forward to listen to the panelists and have an engaging response from all of you. You can also please feel free to ask questions also during the panel discussion. And so that's the second part of my topic. Third is, feel free to share your feedback, your views specifically on the ETBFSI. Feel free to write your columns also. We give that opportunity to industry veterans, and stay connected with etbfsi.com. I will stop here, and I think Ashish, I will call ma'am itself now. Yeah, so our guest of the honor, or the keynote speaker of this particular session, is nothing but Srimati Vidya Krishnan, who is the Deputy Managing Director of the largest Bank of India, State Bank of India. Ma'am, please enlighten us on the AI and the technology as a whole. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. It's indeed a privilege to be in your midst, and I thank Economic Times, Amol Dethe, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on a topic that is a flavor of the times. In this digital age, where innovation and disruption reign supreme, we find ourselves standing at the frontier of a new era. That is in the realm of new technologies, where artificial intelligence has proven beyond doubt the ability to redefine the fabric of our very existence. I found this quote by a fairly young professor at Stanford very interesting and assuring. She said, artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. It is a tool to amplify human creativity and ingenuity. Well, let us see if she continued to think so. So the developments in AI continue to hasten the creation of intelligent machines that work and perform tasks just like human. That's the endeavor. Machines that teach and learn, organize structured information and interpret unstructured information, create insights, as well as make predictions. This has become an essential part of the basic digitization framework that all of us adopt, banks as well as in the BFSI sector, insurance companies, cards, everybody. So, and we continuously endeavor to embellish and enhance these offerings, products and services experiences that we keep offering to our customers. It is interesting as to how AI has shaped in the last 10 years. More interesting as we realize what happened in 9 out of those 10 years and what happened in the last 1 year. The pace of development and the intended disruptions is certainly overwhelming. And this also presents a tremendous opportunity to benefit humanity and address real-world challenges. Models are getting bigger and better, beating human performance benchmarks sometimes. Text-to-image generators and so many things that we see have all taken the internet by storm. Going back a little, what did we pride ourselves between 2013 and 2022? It was all around deep learning, image video processing, natural language processing, machine translations, the rise of big data, using data for computing, and making some early breakthroughs. We were all excited with the emergence of the self-driven cars. Healthcare was another sector where we found a lot of innovations happening, and also benefits that actually accrued to mankind. In the realm of diagnosis was a drug discovery, personalized medicine, um, several other research in the area of medicine. There was increased automation, RPAs, manufacturing, logistics, customer service, increased productivity, efficiency. These were the things that we saw. We saw AI powered, and especially in the BFSI sector, we all use chatbots. In banks, we used AI in a big way for fraud detection, and then it helped us, get those patterns, detect them, and slowly move from detection to prevention. And that has really helped banks as well as others in the BFSI sector to bring down anomalies, identify anomalies and bring down transactions that could cause problems for people. The other thing, as Amol said, is on the customer relationship management. We could come out with products across sectors, use the cross-sell tool more fruitfully, more efficiently, for the benefit of our customers. We also, the other things were around the biometrics, facial recognition, voice commands, etc., that we incorporated into our apps. And this way we were able to tap the behavioral patterns and also create the kind of customer segmentation which allowed for better marketing and customer experiences more than anything. Predictive analysis in the realm of price predictions, risk monitoring to a very large extent, case management, improving, and then we continuously improve the performance of these models. And at the same time, we saw that human interventions were slowly getting reduced in mundane jobs. Another big area where bankers used AI, not just bankers, also fintechs in the lending space, was all around risk management, and especially to determine the credit worthiness of customers by harnessing data to predict the probability of default. So this has been a great joy, right? In SBI, we have leveraged it a lot for loans. That is, we have our PAPL, which is a pre-approved personal loan, and the pre-approved business loans, which run on AI models. Not only that, we've also we've gone into the realm of getting patents for our models. And we have also tied up with IIT Bombay to co-create models with these so-called youngsters who are faster, and there's a sharing of attitudes, information, everything that creates win-win situations for us. The ATM chargeback that we see was another use case where we use these models to identify suspicious transactions and actually find out if we've been able to, we've realized that not all chargebacks are real. And since the kind of volumes that we handle, we found some models that could help us identify the transactions that could be suspicious and work on them. And this way we've been able to, the chargebacks, get the credits back much faster TAT to the reversals. Now, as you would all know, we launched YONO 1.2, and now we are going to YONO 2.0. As we go to YONO 2.0 and we envisage an omni-channel, omni-digital, a platform that can enable collaborations with external partners in a very interconnected world. The need for bespoke offerings and highly personalized services, a modern MarTech stack. AI becomes center stage in our aspirations. And that's as far as what we've done. Now let's see, coming back to the last 1 year, how do we take our aspirations forward? Have things changed for us? Have the tools changed, the solutions? Can we do more with less? Or can we do more with more? We can already see this happening all around us. The latest is Gemini. We'll still talk about ChatGPT. Gemini comes in, Apple. So practically every second day, there's something new that's happening. There's something better that's happening. Generative AI techniques, highly realistic images, videos, also entering into the creative realm, as we were just talking about. Multimodal AI. So a lot of new names that mean doing what we already have better, faster, and with maybe, hopefully, with fewer resources. So certainly the future of AI hinges upon these disruptions with a bigger promise to deliver better benefits and experiences to humankind through widespread deployment of AI by businesses and governments that are playing a very, very big role in this now. Higher automations, higher integrations, better technologies. Having said this, we've talked about the benefits. So is it all good and nothing to worry? Should we be mindful of something? Well, yes. The challenges also are a huge narrative. We see so much, as much as we have people talking about the benefits, advocating the benefits too, there are few people who are calling out some of the challenges. And we do believe that in the fitness of things, we must take that, not step back, but dwell on this, so that the challenges do not impede the momentum of something that we feel will eventually be beneficial for all of us. So the widespread adoption comes with challenges that are both technical and ethical. Some of the challenges that we face are basically around data bias, because the output is as good as the data is. Interpretability and explainability. Many of these models, the way they are created, are black boxes. Many times the inventor also does not know what has gone into it. So there is this process of self-learning, etc. And we really don't know what the model is about, not able to articulate what is about to others who want to know. Then a lack of standardization. It's more like, it's creating, making an art out of a science virtually, where it's not really structured, and where people are also fearing to get in a structure, thinking that it would come in the way of innovation. So, but all said and done, standardized practices, regulations will only help create better and wider adoption and reduce the fear that some people have around it. Security and concerns. Today we see a lot of bad actors, some bad state actors, and we are constantly under pressure, we are constantly under threat. And we need to be very clear as to how these models would react to these kind of pressures and how they are actually solutioned. So this is another thing is, this could be as far as cybersecurity is concerned, but what about the threats when actually it enters a realm of physical space, like a car that drives? Does it have enough of data that has been fed into it to understand what could be the risks that the commuter could be facing while sitting in one of the, or the passenger is facing while sitting in one of these cars? So do we know enough about it? Has the security been looked into with that kind of nuanced approach? The other thing is around the resource intensiveness. Many times we forget to address the issues that come up around both ecology and economics. So this is another thing that we need to be mindful about. And then there are the ethical considerations that are more widely spoken about, and these are more around consent and privacy. which are more kind of perceivable and seem more tangible than many others, because risk is just what you know. It's all around known risks. And how much of the unknown risks can you ever get to know? So it's more, around built around experiences. So built around learnings, built upon around the data that is already present. So how would it extrapolate the existing data into something that is unknown? The other challenge is around will it really displace jobs? It may not be a challenge, but it's a question often asked. While it is sure to do so, I think one should not look at this as a threat. It's an opportunity in disguise. We could end up doing something different, but something more. Then around the regulatory challenges are more posed by the fact that there is no common regulation across. And there are some nations, while the internet is, it's boundaryless, geography-less, some nations have more regulations, some of them have few. So something as simple as data localization, etc., becomes a local issue, though actually you're dealing with a solution that's a lot more global. And the other thing is around, as I did mention about how do we train it enough that it doesn't generalize at any point in time, the model. So in all this, we believe that cooperation among all the members is very, players and stakeholders is extremely crucial. So the sector actually needs to collaborate to set shared guidelines, exchange best practices, and tackle the obstacles as a group. We can create collective trust that reaches beyond specific institutions to encompass the whole of the industry by promoting this kind of a collaborative environment. And it is our collective responsibility to demystify these procedures and make it more concise, understandable, so that systems can function and govern the whole process. This gives rise to a very important word, that is a concept of trusted AI. So trusted AI is to develop and deploy ethically, responsibly, and transparently whatever solutions that we do. And it's not just about technical, it's actually about building trust in AI systems by addressing the concerns around bias, fairness, accountability, safety, and security. So for any industry in particular, and the BFSI industry, we could say that the adoption of AI is certainly inevitable, but our ability to establish and uphold this trust will determine our success. At SBI, we have the policy that drives, and the principles is all around responsible AI. And we know that trust in AI cannot be built overnight, and it has to be cultivated, and then ultimately we have to achieve it. And we must establish the governing principles well in advance, well at the beginning, so that whatever we do in a manner that we offer our customers the most trusted, safe, and secure solutions. So responsible AI for us refers to a practice of development in a manner that's ethical and ensures that all systems are designed and used in alignment with the social values, legal requirements, ethical principles, and also seeks to mitigate the potential negative impacts of AI, including bias, loss of privacy, and discrimination. And this is what we continue to promote, and this is what we continue to practice. As we look at the promising areas of AI, the development, NLP, LLP, advanced computer vision, autonomous systems, reinforcement is a new thing, reinforcement learning, more, and something we keep continuing. There is also a very new jargon that is about embodied AI. And here what is envisaged is that AI will eventually move beyond just processing data and algorithms and actually start interacting with human beings. So from embedded to embodied, this is another huge transition and transformation. And this promises faster disruption. So some questions remain. Will AI really help? Will the AI learn and adapt in a much more human-like way going forward? Will it become more creative? Will this create more biases or will it eliminate bias? Because artificial intelligence, as I said, is as good as the data is. Is embodied empathy another jargon of fiction? Is it feasible? Is embodied ethics the panacea that we seek from the growing narratives around the challenges in AI? Will AI be making ethical decisions in a much more human way? Well, we don't know the answers, but we are all positive, we are all optimistic, and that's what the world keenly awaits to enhance the living experience of humankind and for sustainable development of our world. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the address. Thank you very much, and best wishes.
Many thanks to Ms. Vidya Krishnan ma'am for sharing her views on building trust. I am sure everyone who all are here will definitely, the views of Vidya madam will definitely enable all of us to take a lot of insights. And you have given us all something to ponder upon and envision for the future. So I would like to call upon Mr. Arun Subramanian, who is the founder of Sharpsell.AI, and Amol Dethe, editor of ETBFSI, to felicitate Vidya Krishnan madam, a token of gratitude. Please come.
Please look here, sir. Sir, please look here. Ma'am, please look here.
Thank you.
Sir, please look here. Sir, please come, please. Sir, please ma'am, look here.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for being part of this event. And so I think before we get into the panel discussion, I'm sure all of you know who the panelists are. So before we get into that, I just wanted to take a few minutes to set the context on why we are talking about this and why, as Sharpsell, we were interested in a topic like this and eliciting, industry experts' view on what is happening with respect to building trust. So, so the reason being, when we started out, I think, we did a lot of stuff in learning, and when we realized that learning in frontline was very different, we asked a lot of our industry well-wishers saying, hey, what should we do with frontline? They said, and this was 6 years ago, they said, yeah, mobile learning karo. That's the thing, and we did mobile learning. We gave it out to people on the field, and people never, for lack of a better word, gave a damn. People would see this, people would do these modules for 1-2 days, and after that, nothing will happen. And, as good corporate citizens, we'd go back, call them up and say, hey, what happened, ma'am, kyun nahi kiya, sir, kyun nahi kiya? And the answer was standard. It would be like, yaar, pura din ghumta rehta hu, time hi nahi hai, I'm with client, I'm very busy, and, things didn't move. So we said, let's spend some time on the field to understand why people are not, doing the learning, because that's what is prescribed to us. And when we spent time on the field, we realized that people had a lot of time. People would have, breaks of like half an hour, 1 hour, where nothing is planned, but people would still never go back to this learning. And when we looked at why, at the end of the day, you spend time with them and we asked them saying, "Bhai, kya hua wo learning ka?" People would look at me and say, "Arun, yaar, gyan mat dua." And we were like, "But this is what was prescribed," and and he said, "Okay, then what else do you want?" People are like, help me sell more, help me do my job better. And the logic that, hey, you have to learn something to apply it and learn it, they look at me like I'm an idiot. They'll be like, "Yaar, wo sab chodo, aapko samajh mein nahi aa raha hai ki main kya kar raha hu." So with this, we kind of understood that people on the front line typically wanted immediate gratification. So we said if they can do something today, tomorrow, they appreciated it, and for them, you understand their work. Otherwise, you are, I'm sorry with all of you sitting here, for them it was you are the corporate agent from corporate office who's trusting something on them, and they were like, "Yaar, ek aur overhead aa gaya mera." So with this, we kind of worked on Sharpsell, and we thought we had solved some problems, But then what we realized is that the more and more problems we solved for, the more and more problems kept coming back to us. Because what we solved today is suddenly like not enough tomorrow. And when we thought that you solved something for tomorrow, suddenly that day after tomorrow advances and become today, and more problems are coming in. So one of the things that I think we were talking about it before this session is, one of the things that we really liked about, the conversations we have with a lot of our clients and prospects is specifically with, business, digital and sales enablement folks, is that this community was very, very open to sharing their thoughts, and not just in forums like this, but even individually when you go. What we have seen is, half the time we'll talk about what we are doing, and half the time the questions are around, Bhaiya, why did you do this? Why not something else? We are trying something else, etc. And that gave a lot of impetus to us to say, hey, are we even looking at the right problem? Are we looking at problem the right way? How do we encompass? How do we, look at this from getting this implemented at an org level, etc., etc. And that's where, the question came in saying, how are you going to make your sellers relate to your customers? Because after speaking to a lot of these users, customers, what we realized is, most often your sellers are not part of the same household as your customers. And I'm using this word household a little loosely because it could, be education, social criteria, what works in a specific house, what doesn't. So the question was, how do you make this person relate? And we did a lot of things to do that. But now with AI coming in, and again I'm going to add to what Smira was saying, the AI part is not new, but the large language model AI has become quite popular now, which means that AI is now in the hands of every Tom, Dick and Harry. Any Aam Aadmi can use AI today, which was not the case, let's say, a year ago. I think ChatGPT just opened it out to the rest of the world. And even, let's say, as early as last year, the question was, what is the value addition that a seller is doing in the buying life cycle? Because the question was, your website, I have a lot of information available. And today, you have, with ChatGPT, etc. coming in, you even have processed information available to your buyer. So now the question comes in saying, hey, what is really the role of this seller, and how is it that you're building trust? Because sales is about building trust, and you're expected to build trust, but the way you're building trust has evolved over the last 20 years. What you did 20 years ago is very different from what you did 10 years ago, which is very different from what you did pre-COVID now, etc. So the idea of this discussion was to get people, in BFSI who are running teams from across different businesses. So you have people who are running large distributions. You have people who are running, wealth programs and for banks. So you have people who are dealing with asset sales, etc., retail asset sales or financial service products. So the idea was to get people who have, who are dealing with different kinds of sellers, different kind of customers, different kinds of products. And kind of have a discussion around how they see trust evolving, especially with AI models coming in, and into the hands of customers, which is the important part. So with this, we want to kind of, I'll probably introduce the panelists and have them take stage one by one. So I think the first panelist is the Chief Distribution Officer from Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance, Ashok Surana. So can I request you to take the stage, please, Ashok? So if Ashok says nice things about us, he's already our client. So you'll have to take it as a pinch of salt. Okay. Then we have Amit Kumar Khan from Poonawalla Housing Finance. He's the Chief Business Officer there. Then we have Sanjay Sharda, who heads consumer banking at Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. So then we have Ranju. So we have Ranju Sikya from ICICI. She's the National Product Head for Startup Ecosystem. Welcome, Ranju. Then we have Anish Chaudhary from Yes Bank. He heads the retail digital business. Welcome, Anish. Then we have Pratim Mukherjee from CSB. He heads the whole NRA business products and program. Then we have Abhijit Angane from Standard Chartered. So he heads the receivable finance business. And finally we have Vijay Vasudevan from Suryoday Small Finance Bank. Yeah. He heads the business solutions group and IT applications at Suryoday. Yeah. And last but not the least, so we have Amol, who's moderating this along with I, and I think we'll probably need a small change in seating. Maybe Amol, you can take the seat and I'll go the other end so that we can keep an eye on panelists. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and in fact, like I said, AI is infinite, and it's very difficult for us to uh, phrase questions because you don't know what to ask because it's quite complicated in a way. And specifically, we thought everyone is in a way thinking about two things: one, how to use AI, and second is whether AI will kill me or replace me or something like that. And more importantly, when we use AI, the biggest question is whether we can build a trust with AI. So that's why we decided to craft a topic called building trust in the AI era. And my common question to perhaps all of you, and that's how we'll begin, is, do you think AI is trustworthy for your business? How is AI transforming your business, and how can you build efficiency with AI? So I'm trying to put a lot of things into AI, but trying to get your perspective first, and how do you look at AI as a trustworthy model? And I will start with you, Abhijit.
Okay,
Sorry, please, Ashok, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for inviting to ETBFSI for inviting me here. I think there are a whole lot of questions that you have asked. Probably, I don't know how much justice I will be able to do to answer all your questions. But the first question that you asked is about AI, does it build trust? I think in a factory-driven environment, it just does help build a lot of trust. It enables largely more accurate decision making. So it helps you combine with the sense and the feel and the gut one has in the decision making process with the fact that AI generates and builds in. If you were to ask me, it's not just based on the output of the AI, I would take a decision, but I would definitely rely on that output to take a view. Is it helping in our business? I think definitely it is helping in our business. And one use case I can really talk about is this whole business, this whole activity of underwriting, which to a very large extent used to be more human-based, has now shifted to more AI-driven processes, with close to 60-65% of our today business policies getting underwritten using the AI piece. The second use case is about enabling our field folks, and you had Arun talk about some of the areas that we leverage upon on their platform, also the Sharpsell platform. So getting some insights in terms of what are areas to improve upon, to work upon. How do we enable and empower the frontline salesperson? It's not about monitoring, but it's actually about enabling that person so that person is enthused to leverage on the tools that we really provide. I think to answer your question, there's no area which we can think about that AI will not be able to touch. It's what level of maturity the organization is to adopt AI per se. I'd heard about emotional AI, but with Vidya I heard today about embodied AI. So that's very intriguing for me to go back and look at. But definitely there's a whole lot of impact AI is having on our business.
Sure, thank you for your points, Ashok. Amit? Same question, a common question for all of you first, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so yes, building trust. So when it comes to the question of trust, what I have experienced, the trust to utilize new technology or new concept always starts from the top. So first the trust has to come in the mind of the management, and then an awareness program has to run across the institution. Because if we are already working in an environment which has evolved over a period of time, then it is very difficult to start adopting something which is new. And in the new AI era, what is happening that people are always afraid of losing their job. But AI till date is not replacing human beings that much, at least in my kind of industry. We give loans to affordable housing finance, okay. So after creating the awareness, what we have also done, we have done workshop with our employees to do ideation and to generate new concepts, and we have helped people to think about reimagining the business, okay. So in a traditional way, how a loan application gets generated? People goes, meet somebody, creates a file, come back, does KYC check, dedupe check and all. Through reimagining the process, we have reversed the journey. Now through SEO, search engine optimization, we are getting more traffic into our website. We are doing a lot of data generation, KYC check, dedupe check, and by putting a bot, we are doing some basic question session with the customer and giving a pre-qualified lead to our frontline staff. So what is happening, through this bot, we are creating whole lot of pre-qualified customers and conversion ratios are getting increased for our frontline staff. So they have started liking it. So that's one achievement we have already, we have been able to achieve that. And this way, through reimagining different use cases and creating sub cases, I think the journey which is there in ahead of us will be great. So that would be my answer.
Sure, Amit. I think the banks are using it quite aggressively. Obviously, Ashok explained how the insurance are also using it. But you open any bank's app and there's a pre-approved loan or on the vehicle or the home and everything. Sanjay, let me come to you since we mentioned about bank. Please go ahead and share your views.
Yeah, I think I'll take it a little differently in the sense that anything takes time to build up trust. And usually trust comes with 2-3 things. One, that is it able to help me to achieve something more or do better? Secondly, how is it enabling me to be actually, again, the first part of it, that how can I do more out of my stuff? And secondly, how stable is the new tool which has been given to me? And I think just going back a little bit to my childhood, the first interaction I had with AI was a movie called Terminator. And I was shocked. I was like, what the hell is this? Okay. Then 94, 91, and I saw Terminator 2. That I actually at that time was in college, so I could understand what AI is. And then I never really learned the term. But finally, when now 2018-20 is post the pandemic, I think it's really come to age. And we are seeing newer models coming in, newer business cases emerging. And I think what's happening more and more is that some people are afraid who are not exposed to what the AI can do. But people have started using it, liking it and loving it, and actually want to use more of it. Okay? That's my personal example. I was very scared. What the hell is this? After seeing Terminator. But when I started using it, I started, for example, I used Chat GPT to make one PPT. And it gave me everything, in seconds, which I would have taken for maybe an hour. Okay. So I think that is where the real trust comes in. And I think as we go along and more models come in, and it comes to the hand of the user and experiences it, I think that is where the real trust will come in. I think that is what is important for banks like us, which are still in the early stages of evolution. I think these things can help, especially AI and the NLPs can help us to reach audiences which have never been reached ever. Because the local dialect is such a critical aspect. So I think that is where the real business case comes in. The chatbots will be a major play for us. And of course, data-driven decision making, which is very critical. Because otherwise, you always have some bias, which gets eliminated once you have data to prove that what you're saying is absolutely correct, with just human bias. That's where I come.
Sure, quite meaningful. In fact, when you spoke Terminator and spoke about ChatGPT, which created your PPT in a couple of minutes, my always worry is now, because we keep doing such sessions, whether a speaker will send his clone created by the AI, and I don't know whom I'm talking to. Yeah, because they are now copying the voices also, right?
Yeah.
So
you see those videos which are merging recently of film stars and all.
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yes. So thanks, Sanjay. Let me move ahead and bring Ranju on the panel session here. So Ranju, please go ahead and speak on the trustworthiness of AI.
Yeah, I think, as far as we are concerned, we look at technologies from two aspects. One, of course, whether do we need it, and two, are we comfortable using it? AI, of course, has been evolving significantly in its own growth, right? Today we're talking about Gen AI, we're talking about Gemini, I think we're talking about multimodal approaches. But, and do we need it is the first question. The answer is yes, because we're dealing with tons and tons of data, which is humanly impossible to kind of, navigate, interpret, analyze by ourselves. Excel survived for a very, very long time, helping us do a lot of the business analysis and decisioning. Beyond a point it falls through. So we've used AI in multiple use cases, whether it is for various robotic process automations, whether it is for doing data analysis and throwing insights about our customers, whether it is about KYC, reading documents for us through OCR and embedding that in our process for simplifying the customer journeys. And what has built trust is our ability to validate the outcomes, even in underwriting as we spoke about, and be comfortable with the backtesting approach. With some newer models, I think the trust is yet to develop while we are all engaging with Gen AI and we're amazed by the outcomes. I think it's low risk as far as generating a PPT using a GPT is concerned. When we expose solutioning to our customers, we do feel concerned whether it's gonna come back with a response which is not sanitized and right and appropriate as far as advisory is concerned. We're excited about the possibilities. That's not to say we're scared about it, but we do want it to evolve to a level where we feel comfortable using it for engaging with customers.
Sure, noted your points, Ranju. Anish?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank all of you, and all the views that I'm expressing are personal in nature. First, I want to distinguish between AI and... so there's a difference between AI and ML, and I'll limit the entire discussion to the context of BFSI, otherwise this area can go anywhere. Now, most of the applications that we have today is machine learning, and artificial intelligence is much, much larger than machine learning. If I give an analogy, if AI is a kitchen, machine learning is maybe a gas cabinet. Right? So there is much, much more to AI, and we have to be mindful of the fact that today we are talking so much about it only because of generative AI hitting a tipping point. AI started in 1950s, and we have been trying to adapt it. It only happened in 2006-07 when the computing power with silica chips went up, because there were models, algorithms which were there, but they could not be tested because of hardware limitations. Now we are in a very different era. Now you talk about trust. You can't talk about trust when you don't even understand something. I would say there's a lot of noise around it. Actually, very, very few people really understand what's really happening. Let me cite two instances. 2016, there was a very famous big tech company, if some of you have followed the news. They were working on a project on chatbots. The two bots ended up creating, through trained models, their own language. So from supervised learning, it went to unsupervised, and then they ended up creating two languages. The purpose of those bots was to actually weed out hate comments from the social media. And they created a champion-challenger model to eliminate those. It just so happened that they created their own language which the programmers could not even understand. And they shut it down. It went into a lot of federal security things, and of course we don't know much about it beyond that. And something similar happened of late with Sam Altman, with Q. What I'm trying to say is, in between all this, there are three things as bankers or professionals: identity theft, asset theft, and then what am I gaining out of it as an experience. With any emerging technology, the question is how much of your independence you are ready to trade off for the experience and the benefits you get. We are in a hyper-consumption economy. Just because now with ChatGPTs of the day, people have been hooked onto it as a consumer application, we are now going to compromise more and more on identity theft and this. Now we talked about deep fakes. I am imagining a shuddering a day when a video KYC is happening and I have a deep fake coming in. Is there any tool and technology to weed it out? Answer is no. How do you know that there's not a deep fake sitting right there and impersonating you? How do you know that your phone has not already got a cloned app and actually taking up your information and creating fake data around your Aadhaar, PAN, etc., And therefore, it can actually create a fake mule account. It can create a fake loan book. And by the time you realize there's a syndicated fraud out there, group of people in some different island, and they have taken away 1,000 crore loans from you. And that is a possibility. So while we are talking about fraud detection and everything, for once it has happened that consumers have taken over and they don't understand the science and the hackers behind it. So they are actually now the competition is the regulator. So far it's very easy if it's a B2B space, because then you know you're trying to control, something which is esoteric with regulations. And now there are consumers and you have hundreds of impersonators. You hide behind them. So I won't say trust or something, I think it is the future. I had predicted some time back that 2028-29 is when singularity would be achieved. I still stand by that. I think we are headed for an ASI, artificial superintelligence, somewhere around 2040. These are, of course, one can predict, but that's the future. The question is regulations and all your safety precaution measures, where do they stack up? And most importantly, I think for professionals inside organizations, are they training themselves to even understand the basics? And therefore how everything is stacking up? I think we have a long way to go. It's going to be an interesting battle ahead.
Great highlights, Anish. But I feel like someone serves you a delicious food and says you can't eat it. So what do I mean by that is Anish gave great highlights, but he disclosed in the beginning that these are personal. So I can't quote it. I can't write a story about it. But very meaningful, Anish. Pratim, let me come to you and take your perspective.
So good evening, everyone. So again, my views are as well personal. Trust is I'll come to the first part of it. As a trust is a very cognitive, and it builds over a period of time. At the same time, it's not eternal. It's very fragile. So it requires a lot of reiteration and reinforcement. So coming to this BFSI kind of a thing and the AI having a trust. Most of the generative AI what we are using is primarily of a consumer grade. While the generative AI, the in thing has come now, but a lot of Google Translate and all these things were there long before. But the scale it has come now, it's because of the lot of the data which are coming in, lot of use cases, so a lot of supervised learning. So it is becoming enormous as and when, and definitely it will scale because of the thing, and a lot of testings are going on. So in a financial industry, a lot of things, it's also very important, the people who are, their responsibility lies people who are creating this model and people who are deploying it, because when you create model, what kind of information you are putting in, what kind of logics you are putting in, what kind of algorithms you are putting in, that defines a lot in your output. So if we create that kind of a model, and when we are doing the testing part of it, when you are training it, if we see that if you make it as robust as possible, I think it will be absolutely fantastic, and this will go in the right direction. And but at the same time, it will come with a lot of individual choices also, the data compromise and all these things. But today, most of the people who we are looking for hyper personalization. So we are ready to compromise our data for causes and for without causes also. Nobody forces us to post our pictures on Facebook or Insta. And if you have to understand, in the world of generative AI and this kind of things which are coming now, the data means earlier we used to feel only the numerical data is the data. Right now, text is a data, image is a data, a speech is a data. So we are doing it by choice or by chance, and mostly I would say by choice, because nobody is forcing anyone. And if it leads without threatening anybody's individuality, anybody's privacy, without compromising anybody's individual, anybody's existence, I think it's absolutely fine. And while we have to train the system and deploy it in a more sensible manner, so that the regulation and the individuality are none of the side is compromised, as we are from the financial side of it.
Training it in a sustainable manner.
I think one of the common threads between what I think all four of you spoke, the last four panelists, is about what are you giving in. I mean, it could, like you said, starting with, am I giving prompts to just generate a presentation to, am I, is it just a checkbox like Truecaller where I say, must take all the data? I think that part has become super critical, because I think last week Samsung said, I'm not going to allow access to OpenAI to my employees, because some of these core developers apparently put their core code and said, help me develop this better, and they said, hey, I can't have my code, feeding other people to develop their own systems and stuff. So I think that becomes very important in terms of what are you giving into what you get back. That's a common thread.
Sure. Noted your points, Pratim. Let me move ahead. Abhijit, can you please go?
Thanks, Amol. So first of all, I come from I manage receivable finance for Standard Chartered Bank. So it's a very, very structured trade finance. So every deal is a bespoke, not like consumer bank products. So sometimes deals like $100 million or $50 million without any collateral, basically. Risk is immensely high. So for me, the quality of human resource matters a lot, because the intelligence and the creativity on each and every deal. So I would rather say, of course, no one can substitute that human intelligence, undoubtedly yes. But at the same time, if you look at it, my answer is this a time to embrace the technology? Yes. We must learn what's new and how. But if you ask me that, I completely trust blindly, and because my business is highly regulated also, because there are a lot of complexities on top of it, RBI guidelines, and we need to adhere to those regulations. And too early to comment whether there will be a complete dependence down the line, but at this juncture, of course, I will rather go for some part of it wherein I can do take a benefit, because nowadays we all know there's a cost pressure, right? For that matter, customer service or marketing, we have a cost pressure. So if AI can help me to optimize my best possible solutions and can help me to give the best possible delight to the customers, I will definitely try and look at it. But if you ask me, trusting it end to end and taking a decision on it, it may not be the case at this juncture. So quite different view compared to other participants here and my fellow speakers here. So this is what from my side.
I'm sure, ultimately everyone will use its own intelligence and not just artificial intelligence, and bring different perspectives for sure, Abhijit, because obviously the segments are also different. But yeah, meaningful thoughts there, Abhijit. Vijay, can we have your perspective?
Yeah, so every business model operates in a different way. So what Abhijit's business model requires a lot of human intelligence to know, scrutinize the proposal, right? Understand the customer. But in my experience, my personal view is that we are in the very early stage of adopting AI, right? Probably in BFSI sector, if I'm not wrong, we may be adopted 25-30% of the overall capability, right, in India. But as Harish said, the hackers would have got adopted 80-90% to fullest, right? So, but coming to the point, in BFSI, I have seen significant trust we could build with the AI model, especially when selecting the customer segment, identifying the right customer for the right product. Not only the identification, even serving the customer, reaching the customer faster, right? Earlier, in my early days, when I started my career in 2000, we used to take 30-35 days to process one car loan proposal. Right now, I'm not sure, some organization may take a call in half an hour time, end to end, with the AI. So I do the CKYC, and then I take the complete symbol data, I take the probe data, I process everything. So now, with the account aggregator, I take everything is on the platter. Honestly speaking, very minimal human intervention now we are in the era of taking a decision from the system, especially on the lending segment, right? Also, I've seen somebody told AI may not replace the head count, right? So I have seen in my previous organization. So in my current organization, we are in the early stage of adopting AI. So I have already started, and we are moving very fast. In my previous organization with implementing chatbot, voice bot, I have replaced 65% of my call center, right? So if I have 200 callers with the outbound voice bot, I have diverted 65% of the volume from a physical caller to the AI chatbot. The advantages for a 4 lakh customer, for a caller to call, it may take 15-20 days to complete the churn. The AI bot would have done it in 1.5 days. So that is the advantage I see. From a trust part, definitely yes. The portfolio quality shows, right? The right A/B testing modeling shows, right? So see, AI is evolving, right? It is not 100% accurate. So it is what you feed, right? What it deliver, right? It is human intelligence is 50% in AI. See, what we actually train the bot or what we train the model output shows. So my sense is, from a BFSI, from a banking prospect, yes, it does create a lot of trust at the management level, at the portfolio quality level, right? From a customer side also, there are, for a company, right, for a bank, adopted proper AI. So as a customer, so I'm happy, because earlier I used to go with the passbook and print my passbook over a counter, right? Now in a chatbot, statement of account is delivered in my WhatsApp account, right? So that is a trust from, I'm talking about from the customer side.
Detail one, Vijay. In fact, on a vehicle loan, somebody from a private bank was telling me that if you come to a bank, forget I will disburse your loans in 30 minutes to 60 minutes. I can also guess whether you are going for Skoda Slavia, or you can go for a Mini Cooper, or you are going to buy a Hyundai i10. Maybe, that's also the assumptions that AI can help bankers to build that. Arun, my question is slightly different to you. Apart from the trust, obviously I want you to add slightly on trust, but more importantly, you must be talking to a lot of BFSI players. So what is your analysis in terms of bankers' view on the AI?
So my view is going to be biased towards how it's used in the selling side, because I think we've seen a lot of applications on the process and automation part. I think that's like immense, and that's been happening for quite some time. But now the conversation is around saying, hey, how can I use AI to help my sellers? Which is, I think, what the question is. So there are two schools of thought. So one is to say, hey, I'm going to, have my frontline team use AI models to enhance customers with, conversation with customers. While the other camp says, hey, I can't leave my AI because I don't know what it's going to throw up, and in case, there's always this fear of mis-selling, and even with all the right documents, there's this question of mis-selling. So what if somebody takes a screenshot and says, nahi, aapka AI nahi hota hai? So then that becomes a regulatory issue, etc. So there are two schools of thoughts. One school says it's okay, we'll add a disclaimer, let's say, for example, remove screenshots and we'll say for internal training purpose only, blah, blah. And the question is, how far do you go down that route? The other path is, are you going to make it slightly proctored, where you say you give, you enable program managers running, let's say, sales teams and enablement teams to use AI to equip people. So at which level are you making life more easy using AI is the question. So the question, the other way is, are people talking about AI? Yes. Do people know they are going to use AI? Yes. But the difference of opinion, the way we see it, is at what level is that going to kind of get implemented first? How much of risk appetite are we ready to take? So,
sure. So now I have some specific questions to each one of you based on your profile, but please feel free to add also so that we can make it more engaging. And if you also have any specific questions, please be ready with we'll come to you as and when we get some time. So Ashok, let me come to you, and you partly discussed about human base. So I'm sure you must be working on hyper personalization, personalizing the AI. How are you working on it, and how are you personalizing the customer interactions to strengthen the customer engagement through AI?
So, I'd just like to add what Arun just mentioned. I think we look at AI from two perspectives. How do we improve our efficiency and how do we expand our business? The two E's as we talk about, right? And as he rightly said, there's a lot of AI being used on the efficiency side because we feel we have better control. I would really love to what he said to say, can AI help me acquire more customers? Okay. But what we've seen is, what we've seen as an opportunity is to help to use AI to enable our sellers and get customers or enhance the quality of engagement with the customers. So the conversion ratio is higher, right? So I'll give you an example. We all hear about pre-approved loans. Probably our life insurance industry has now moved towards pre-approved sum at risk, right? Now that is what you asked me about personalization. I can tell you based on your 3 sets of data, how much cover we can give you with just 3 sets of data. Okay, it's yours, and that helps because for a seller, it helps to know I'm not talking about numbers in thin air. I know exactly this is exactly what I will give. So the pre-approved is a big enabler which has happened for our sellers and for the business. It is one element of customization or personalization. The second element of personalization is about how do we interact with our customers. Okay, so we get into analytics. We use AI to say, if I have to send an email to a customer, say for example, if I have to send an email to Sanjay, based on his behavior pattern, we know exactly on a Wednesday between 10 and 12, he's likely to open the email. Okay, so that's what we do, and that's how we have seen the effectiveness of our opening rate of emails increasing. The third element is the language which we use in the communication. For example, a language what we use in places like Mumbai may not be the same what we use for a customer base of Kolkata. It's not exactly personalization, but it's more around customization. But that comes from the AI. You can't do it manually, right? You have to go through a huge learning process on a continuous process. And last but not the least, it's all about chatbot, right? Chatbot is a passe. We use more of WhatsApp-enabled, chatbot-enabled WhatsApp interactions today. Every single transaction, we have moved to a stage where we can actually underwrite and issue a policy on WhatsApp. Okay, and that is we would like to do it a lot more. But then you ask the first question of building trust. The trust is not just the seller; the customer also needs to have the trust that if I'm getting a policy on WhatsApp, it's actually a policy which I can rely upon. So I think across the board we have been using across various stages, but first is more around building efficiency, but we are now moving towards saying how do we use it more in terms of expanding the market, enabling the sellers, engaging the sellers. So that gives you the opportunities in finance.
Absolutely. I think one great learning here from Ashok is anyone who wants to know when your client will open the mail, you can borrow the technology from him. In fact, I will ask my IT team also to be in touch with you because our newsletter open rate should go up then. Certainly. So, Amit, Vijay gave a very different analysis from Suryodaya Bank. I always see that whether Utkarsh Bank or Suryodaya Bank or the new age banks have got a liberty of adopting advanced technologies because they started late. But you are a legacy institution. So, is it a major challenge for legacy institutions to turn the wheels, go back and adopt AI or similar technologies? How do you do that?
Yeah, so the answer is yes, yes. It's a great challenge to replace the legacy system. But why yes? We should deep dive a little bit on it. First of all, the legacy system, which is already playing their role, is enriched with the culture of the organization over a period of time. There has been a lot of customization which has been done, and people are habituated to it. They can navigate the system very easily, and there are old veteran people who have been, engaged to maintain the system. Now, if we want to change that, these dependencies on the existing employees, existing users, and existing IT team also, that comes in between the development or the thought that we want to redevelop it or replace it, and what is our existing system. So, the approach which actually we have also already taken, like I told that it is very important to engage the users and build up trust among them that what we are going to do is definitely going to help you and our customers. So customer centricity, if that can be created through replacement of the legacy system, and if that can be established within the mind or that can be implanted within the philosophy of the organization, then the job becomes easier. For example, like all of us are actually talking about pre-approved loan and all, okay. It was not there earlier, okay, because this API calling and all, thanks to India's stack and NPCI, that they have given us so many APIs. Today, KYC verification, bureau calling and bureau check, credit scoring, through that creating a statistical model to create some internal score of the customer. These are all possible, okay. So we are in a different ballgame altogether. So with support from all this technological development, and obviously through the support of prompt engineering, which can replace the human intervention of credit underwriting. In our business, credit underwriting is very, very important, okay. So with the help of today's tools like AI and all, or through generative AI, if we can create a set of questions, or if we can actually think beyond something which we are doing today, if those are possible, and it helps us to serve better to our customer. So that particular thought came out in our workshop, and that has actually helped us to take a step ahead to replace the legacy system. Now, while doing so, at the same time, at every step and every stage, there would be certain resistance, because our business is related to collateral also. So old data migration, then old records which are in PDF form. Earlier it was in some Omnidocs form, now it is in different form. So over a period of 10 years, 20 years, lot of data centers have been created, which all have to brought into one singular platform right now. So all these challenges keep coming, but with the help of RPA, or with the help of vision analytics, we are trying to overcome all those things, okay. So to answer your question, yes, it is a challenge, it is difficult, but it is not that we can't do it. With our open mind and with engagement and giving a sense of empowerment to the employees, that with this we will proceed in a much better way to give customer delight. That way we can definitely achieve it, and we are actually going through that job.
Yeah, sure, Amit. Sanjay, not just AI, but when you speak about the emerging tech, which includes a lot of other technologies also, how do you use it and fine-tune offline touch points also to boost the customer experience? Offline touch points also, to boost the customer experience.
Okay, so traditionally the banking model is branch-led. Okay, so you have customers walking in, you have customers who come in and want to be created for tea, coffee or something, and then chat and understand their needs and then get service. Today with the AI coming in, I think we can actually tailor make it in such a manner that the person, when he's interacting with the client, is able to actually get a prompt on what he or she should be talking to the person. So I think that is the basic change which is coming in. Fortunately for me, I'm in a place where there's clean stage. I can actually rewrite the rules and start making it work. So I think that's the biggest change, which is we're seeing at the branch level, where I can actually prompt a person to talk what I want them to talk about. For example, the product of the month, product of the day, or for example, just taking the understanding the customers, like you have a car, yes. When is the date? When the next renewal coming in for insurance. So I think that is where the real, the real advantage is coming in. I think business cases are also evolving on a number of other factors, which we are testing, and especially in terms of my front-end sales, I want to actually tell them, boss, one, yes, you have done 10 accounts. If you do the 11th, here's your incentive multiplying, right? And if you sell this kind of an account, this gives you an extra, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. So that is the kind of work we are trying to build up in the bank and move ahead.
Sure. Ranju, you gave two parts, how the bank functions and all on the technology front. So, moving ahead, I would like you to tell us, when it comes to technology adoption, embracing new things, do you prefer to build in-house technologies, or you believe in the, external collaborations? How do you look at it? And specifically with AI, considering the compliance, the risk associated with are very high, RBI is also going very active and strong against it. How do you, summarize this?
So I think, the build and buy discussion is as old as it gets, and more so because the kind of stuff that banks talk about is so much connected to technology that people started saying that banks are actually technology companies with a banking license. But there is a difference because clearly, of course, you see us associated with all the new technologies, whether it's blockchain, whether it's metaverse, whether it's AI. We engage, we implement, we experiment. But our focus, unlike a technology company, is possibly on the customer. The customer, his engagement with us, his interactions with us, his business with us, and how do we make that more streamlined and more nudges for more business. So in that context, I'll answer your question, Amol, from the startup engagement side that I run, the startup. So I've introduced a lot of startup companies to our bank, keen to partner with us for their solutions, and the inferences that I have drawn through these multiple conversations. So there are some startups which I bring to the bank, and the bank says, what's the big deal about this? We can build it when we choose to. Now, the message that I hear the bank is saying is that either your product is too baseline, or it is not a dying need from what I hear from our customers, or should I choose to kind of go that path, it is not even, the moat is not so high, we can go do it ourselves. Sometimes I hear our bank wanting to make an outreach to certain startups and say, I like what this guy is doing, and maybe there is a plus that we can co-build together. And these are very interesting conversations that we do, because we see the startup deeply understanding of the space, or product or a solution, and we have a very nuanced problem in that particular area, and we do want to work with someone who is deeply involved to co-build a solution. And it's win-win, because if the partner is working with us, he obviously ups his own game in that space. The third is, of course, the more fundamental large-scale systems which talk to a large segment of our customers, which require a lot of maintenance, build, etc. We're not a tech company. We don't have the ability to manage, to maintain, to upgrade, etc. There it's a prefer buy, clearly a prefer buy. But buy is not restricted to only the large-scale ones. I think we also buy when the go-to-market is faster, and it's a need of the hour. So I guess these are some of the constructs that I have seen in our various partnership conversations that we've had with startups. And for each of these, I think there is a security check that all of these buy and build discussions go through from the point of view of longevity of the solution. I don't want to spend time on something that is here and now and not a problem that will last for a longer time. It has to have a robustness of the platform, safety, security, storage of data. All of this is important in an AI context too. So when we engage on the AI side, as I mentioned earlier, how do we ensure that whatever we say, do, has the element of regulatory compliance, because every action of ours comes under the scrutiny of the regulator, and there is a responsibility that we have towards our customers too. So where is it that the data is stored is a question that we would ask. How is it that, what kind of data are they, while we as a bank, because of our legacy, do have access to a large amount of data, and we could build and train models for our own data, is there some kind of an inherent bias that exists in our data? Should we have a more open architecture to the learning model that gets into it? These are questions we do ask. It's expensive to run it ourselves, and yet it is possibly not as safe if you do an open architecture model. So these are duality and both sides arguments that we do weigh. I don't think we are there yet, and Arun, you mentioned earlier about the fact that what are you giving and what are you getting back, and what kind of who is responsible for the advice that goes out. I think because we want to stay engaged, a lot of the Gen AI, we want to start with training the sellers, as Arun mentioned. We're testing to see from just a search find model where we search on FAQs and give out responses, can we do it better? Can we make it more contextual? If that turns out right, and if we've solved for ensuring that it is accountable for what it says it's supposed to do, I think it should be opening to customers too.
Sure, Ranju, thanks for adding that. So before I shoot my next question to Anish, after Anish, I will also take questions from you, maybe one or two questions before going ahead with the other panelists. So be ready if you have with your question, be specific if you have any questions. So Anish, we spoke about AI, and we also added about ML singularity earlier. And there are a couple of use cases that most of the banking and specifically BFSI companies have on the AI front. So how are you using specifically to improve the products and services with AI and ML products? And more importantly, how do you measure the success of the technology that you have used? What if you know everything about me but I don't buy a product? I don't take a loan from you. How do you measure the success?
Right, so I'll try to answer this, very existential question about technology, across the sector, and not limited to only a particular organization. Look, I think we are living in an era where there is a new technology coming in every second day. And there's almost a FOMO effect I see in the boardrooms and the organizations, because if you're not really bringing it up to the curve, if you're not exploring that technology, people say you will be left behind. But if you look at the basics of financial services, what has really happened? Fundamentals, and I'll take up 2 or 3 products so that it's simple. If I talk about credit cards and if I talk about lending per se, the fundamentals remain the same. You have to select good customers and lend to them, and you have to collect money back from them. It's a game of money going out and making money from the right customers. That hasn't changed, the fundamentals. What has changed is, earlier it used to be judgment-based scorecard models, and now it's machine learning-based models. Earlier the journeys used to be enabled in the branches or DSAs, and now we're also looking at much more digitalized journeys, assisted or DMD. In that space, I don't think the ROI is a problem. I think it's well tested and proven that on an average, if you are spending 2 to 3% of the disbursal value on an OPEX, that's a direct save you are making. On the credit cost side, the jury is still out, I would say. And I know I'm making an outlier statement, but let me tell you very clearly, there's not a single proven model today in this country where you can claim that over a period of 2-3 cycles, a very powerful ML-driven model has ensured that it is doing better than human touch. And I'm talking about hardcore retail lending, not just corporate. What scorecards and all doing is they are enabling you to sift through a huge amount of bureau data and some bit of alternate data, and enabling you to do better statistical models than you would otherwise do. But is the model not being, if that were not the case, then you won't be having portfolio reviews and monthly, quarterly risk meetings and all that, the AI should have taken over. So now on the returns part of it, I think where we are getting often lost is on the big ticket investments. So I think on the customer experience, on lending, even the other product I was talking about was liabilities. What has changed? People do not want to keep enough money in your savings bank account because they want to invest. Fundamentally, if you see, we have got 45 lakh crore of SIP book today, MF book today, right? This was some 18 lakh crore. It has grown 3x. But the savings accounts are growing, the CASA balances are growing at only 10-20%. Are we heading for a situation where we'll be starved for CASA balances because that will hurt your credit cycles? How will banks lend if they can't borrow cheap? Is there a disruption happening on those technology fronts? There is a use case out there open for anybody to crack it. It's not about technology, it's about solving a problem where digitalization can help. How do you nudge people to save and yet optimize? So when you talk about return on investment, the best models that I have seen are working in terms of agile methodologies. So there are two places where people can go wrong. One is huge capexes and you're getting stuck with a vendor, or you're getting stuck with your investments and then you are throwing good money after bad because you have messed up your implementation. I don't think organizations are making bad tech choices. They are making bad tech implementations. And which is where two things: one, agile deliveries, which I think is a lot to be learned from startups and fintechs. Second, platformifications. Monolithic systems is the biggest bane. Now it's easier said than done because we have legacy systems, core banking, very difficult to just overlay. But yes, whatever new stuff that's coming in, whatever you're replacing, if you take a modular approach, now with low code and no code, it's much easier, and many organizations are doing it. Some of the largest banks are doing it. It's actually the incremental, or what I call as the marginal return on investment, is much higher. So measurements are possible, but it is not. If it were not, and I'll give you some statistics. Look at the ROE of banks in 2012 and look at it in 2022. Risk-adjusted yield of the banking sector is at an all-time high. To take global banks between 2013 to 2022 odd, the ROE has fallen by almost 460 bips. In India, that fall is hardly 50, 60 odd bips. So we are at a cusp where digitalization is spearheading actual GDP formation. I'm making a very shortcut statement, there's a whole science behind it. But it's actually creating net value add in the bottom line as well as on the top line. So if it were not for technology, it won't have happened. Having said that, if you look at physical expansion, the number of bank branches, they are still growing at 10-15% per annum CAGR. So India is going to be a phygital market. Banking is BFSI will continue to invest in technology. I don't think return on investment is a challenge. The problem I see is visibility of returns. It gets hidden somewhere because things work out. There are a lot of inefficiencies which need to be removed. And the people who are working on it, I think the biggest challenge I see with any large organization is silos. So for example, if a product manager is worked on a particular area, the person doesn't understand collections, doesn't understand vigilance, doesn't understand KYC. So, but with technology coming, it forces you to think horizontally. So how do you organize yourself into agile models which enable you to be an expert, but also come out of your silo and look at the other side? Those organizations, the organizations which are cracking that, are able to get superior returns. So the difference between, let's say, an ROA of 1%, 1.5% versus 2.5% would be that.
Interesting one, Anish. In fact, when you're talking about mutual funds, CASA, and the ROE, I was thinking about the economic indicators. Fortunately, we are the only country where all the economic indicators are, quite positive and significantly higher than, many other countries. So I will just take a halt from my questions here, but if there are any questions from you, I will take it. Anybody has any question? The panelists, or I think you are happy with the way it's going? Yeah, sure, they're quite happy with what we are discussing. So let's, good, thanks for the trust. Okay, the gentleman there, can you have a mic there?
Hi, good evening everyone.
Yes.
So this is Akhilesh. My question is to the panel. We all, talking about the AI, and with the perspective of, today's changes, it is pretty much relevant. But when we are talking about BFSI, and we all have spent enough time in the banking or the NBFC sector, when it comes to the bringing the technology, I think Anish mentioned this, that bringing the technology to the bank is easier than the implementing it. So we are talking about the AI, but how much it is relevant or how far we are from the implementation of the AI, because at times we see that the core systems or the fundamental systems in the banks or the IT infrastructure is not pretty much up to the speed. So, any views on this?
So, first of all, I think we have not even scratched the surface. Let's be very clear, because AI, I was mentioning in the beginning, is a very misused term. We are only using, even generally we only understand 1% of it, and the adoption today maximum I see is on the customer service side, especially on the bots part of it. The other area is machine learning, where there is an extensive use on the underwriting side. On the acquisition side, there were examples on the website, etc., where there's a lot of optimization and nudges and stuff like that. But let me tell you, those are happening through third-party solutions. Is the bank created anything proprietary? The answer is no, and I don't think there's a need for it. But we are at a very long cusp away. I think the biggest change that people are seeking is how can all the data that's residing within the bank, and somebody nicely put it, it's not just about numbers, but texts and words and everything. Like say policies, documents, simple use case. You have thousands of systems of records of minutes. These are the change versions of my policy, etc. Programs. They're lying somewhere in different file systems. How do you make sense of it and create auto triggers that, this version is expiring because a regulatory change has happened? Imagine having an RSS feed from Google and your internal RSS feed talking to each other and creating alerts. Now, those are possible use cases which I don't think anybody is working on right now. But with the advancement of LLM particularly, large language models, where a version of it is now being taken, because as BFSI, there's a big challenge on data privacy. So most of it is lying in clouds. So all that change that you can do is either on public data, generic data, and if you're using proprietary data, now there are plugins coming in where you can host it on your private cloud. And I believe the regulator with the recent, yesterday there's a regulation release, so if those things happen, you will find a lot of trained model use cases coming in inside the banking clouds. So there's a huge opportunity of RPA substitution. I think RPA will be dead if these things work out. But we're a long way off, let me tell you. I think every bank is very keen on doing this. It's a future, but it's still a long way off. And I think if one last statement I would say is AI is not a tech solution. It's a business solution. So if every business person understands AI as much as a techie, that's when I think the real change will start happening.
Sure, thanks Anish for that. Yeah, sure.
I've seen a real example of artificial intelligence used in another company, which is a tech company, IBM, where they actually, the system stores the information of exactly what kind of projects are you working on, and then it correlates your next job. It's called Lighthouse, and because my son works in IBM, so I know. So it tells you, it gives the prompts like, okay, you have, there's a job requirement which comes in, and they're actually able to match 100%, or not 100%, but at least 70-80% of the job requirement exactly pertaining to what the person has done. And then prompts, okay, this is the job which is coming up, would you like to be interested to apply for it? Of course, there are basic rules and regulations, but the way they have been able to use it, I have not seen it anywhere else. I've seen some examples of it in learning and development in banks, where they are able to, prompt like, okay, this is your first course and second course, and if you want to specialize in, let's say, go to another business vertical, you can learn from there. But that's about it. I've not seen actual business application. Still, when we have seen on sales side of it, but not really too much. Still a long way to go.
Sure. Pratim, you spoke about, in fact, expanded the scope of data in your previous comment, and you said, data is not just text, but video, audio, and so many other things, images and everything. Being a banker, how do you ensure while using AI and data, you secure the compliant, while using the new technologies, how do you ensure that it's been secured and you followed all the compliance in manner? Because ultimately at one end you have to use all the facilities that data can provide to you, but on the other end you have to also tick all the compliance boxes. So how tough it is? How do you do it?
So I would not say particularly about my bank, and it's not only related. What you asked is not related only to BFSI. I think that's a challenge across the industry, and some part of it I touched before also, something which comes to voluntary also, and I think there is not much of an involuntary disclosure from any point of time where you can actually unethically hack into anybody data. And also, since we are in a BFSI sector, it's a lot of responsibility lies on the BFSI sector because the impact on the finance and there is impact on the reputation of the people. So there is a no, financial loss is still quantifiable, but reputation loss is unimaginable. And as he said, Anish was saying that it's still a long way because all the models which we have created and are very specific models for specific segments, and whatever is in common hands are also very consumer are only for primarily for consumer use. And there is also I think first of all, foremost we have to understand that AI is itself is not an independent solution. I think AI can build a solution over large part of things. It's as they say, it's like electricity. It can light off your fan, also it can light on your fan, it can light on your power your refrigerator as well. So, and also, but since there is a huge downside, I think like any technology, there is a governance in place, there is risk mitigation in place. Over a period of time, as in BFSI, the implementation of AI goes up, the governing bodies will learn from the mistakes and the pitfalls we have, and the system will become more and more robust. But it will not become no bank probably might not, or any institution or any financial institution might not like to develop on their own because it's a very, very expensive thing to build a model. And if you go wrong, you have to start over from the scratch, and by the time you have lost millions of dollars. But we will have players like we have aggregators. We will have players who are providing solutions across the industry, and they will do much better than than independent bank developing or independent financial institution developing. Because they will have much wider learning base all across the different institutions and different segments. So their learning would be much wider. So it will be more sensible to collaborate than to in-house, and so I think it will be like that.
Sure. Abhijit, I will also take a slightly your view on the risk side. So you obviously mentioned about AI and the technologies, and your segment is a little different. But how can AI or emerging tech help you manage the risk specifically into the receivable finance operation?
Sure. So one of the important thing what we in our business we look at is the risk mitigation, because the ticket size is large and there is no collateral. So how that risk mitigation will come out basically. So when I purchase the invoice, I don't know whether the performance has been done, right? So first of all, I need to understand that invoice is genuine, because nowadays we have a lot of GST data available, and if any one of those LLM model can fetch that data from GST, and that can authenticate my invoices, genuine invoice, not the fake invoice, basically. So that is one part would be very, very crucial for us. Again, we all know that moment I purchase the invoice, I register that invoice on Sharpsell. So data is available on the Sharpsell servers also. If someone that LLM model can give me the data that this invoice has been already funded by some other bank, so there is no scope of double financing basically. So I as a banker, I am doubly sure that whatever I am doing, whatever risk I am taking, there's a absolute clear understanding that it's going in the right direction. The ROI is whatever I'm intending at. Of course, we do domestic structures also, export structures also. Now, many a times in exports, I don't know whether the genuine shipment has taken place, whether the goods have moved from one country to another country, but there is a data available on the port side. If that technology can give me and fetch that data, if model can communicate to me that look, this shipment has already taken place, my by and large performance risk has been mitigated. So this is what probably what I am visualizing rather. Maybe such technology to a certain extent may be available in terms of machine learning models or maybe API models, but probably from a Gen AI perspective, probably someone can
Saying is that the moment the ships are loaded on the ship, you will know exactly whether they have actually been dispatched.
The cargo shipped on board or not. Absolutely right.
and then you can mitigate. You actually have a little bit of more.
Yeah, for my risk is well mitigated.
Whether the same products are there in the cargo or not, or maybe some other products are loaded.
Then my basic assessment of the customer has gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So let me move ahead, and Vijay, you also give a.
That's why I said that you can't, substitute the human intelligence. Impossible.
Also, bank deals only in documents.
It can only complement the human intelligence. That's it.
Sure. So Vijay, you gave a lot of highlights about how you're using 65% volume of the call center is shifted to digital and everything. So if I move ahead with digital and AI and ask you a very specific question, what is next that you're going to do with AI? We spoke a lot about vehicle, home loans and everything. What next?
That's confidential. I can't tell you. Certainly.
Okay, but largely, how do you see banks, are going to do the next big thing? If not, so you're there.
Yeah, that's a right.
This is like this AI conflict. You say, no, I can't give you the answer. Then you say, if you were somebody else, how would you answer it?
Okay, so I'll talk about specific to small finance banks where we are relatively new. We are babies. We are growing right now. There's a lot of opportunity. I've spoken to my counterpart, say in other banks, how they are adopting AI for lending, AI for modeling, risk modeling, right? So, because our segment of customers are completely new from other banking segment, because we are we have more of MFI segment, right? So it's a completely new customer are new to bank, right? New to credit also. We operate. So we need to have this model, as he said, it's not accurate. It's not accurate in one shot, right? So we have to. So that is what we are evolving in customer segmenting in deep learning, right? So there we are as a small finance bank we are focusing, and then I've seen couple of banks in SFBs coming for implementing chatbot, voice bot, so on and so forth. So basically there is a lot of headroom in small finance bank, right? So to grow. And definitely, implementing AI is limitless. See, as I told you, right? No, we are maybe 10-15% of the adoption, right? So, to answer your question, so the opportunity is actually much more.
I'll just give you one more example.
Sure.
So
Headline if possible.
Yeah, because I went to the US to drop my daughter. So this guy was showing me what they developed. Like if you are driving around, you like a house in a particular neighborhood, you can actually take a picture. He'll go to your relationship manager. He'll be able to give you a quote of the property in that area, and also be able to finance you, if in case you are eligible. Which also I think that is the next level of customization.
Sure. Thanks for adding that. So, Arun, I will also ask you a slightly similar question to what I asked to Vijay. So, how do you see, what is the future of AI specifically from a BFSI's perspective? How do you see BFSI companies are going to accelerate with AI? Because Vijay said keynotes limitless, and we are talking about the infinite possibilities. What are the possibilities that you are seeing right now that the BFSI company is going to adopt in near future?
So again, my views are limited to selling. So one of the things that, yeah, because that's where we focus on, and that's where I have some locus time to talk about. So one of the things that we see organizations that word is I'm going to say reluctant seller, because especially with a lot of you from banks, most people applied for bank jobs. They never but today there are targets on them, etc. And even let's say for insurance, the way insurance advisors come in, half of them don't really want to go out and sell. While we might have another view of them, most people are not very comfortable going out and selling and putting themselves out. So our view is to say, how do we help people be confident enough to have these conversations and communicate what it is? Because let's say the earlier expectation, and when I say earlier, this was probably the expectations of 4 or 5 years ago, that we'll give them all the right information, then things will automatically move. Information gap is what the issue was, has not proved to be right. So it's not really the information that's missing. It's about how are you making it easy for this person to, get the right information. And from a personality perspective, how are you making it easy for them to even talk about some of these things? Because half the time, specifically in bank branches, we see people don't talk about products and don't talk about, selling. I mean, they are like, was I applied for a customer?
Hesitant to even talk.
Sorry?
When the customer walks in, they are trying to figure out if I can do something else. That's the biggest challenge.
It didn't come from me.
I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah. So and the reality is like, I think it's also probably from, let's say, an archaic view of how, you've seen your parents, uncles, aunts have a bank job, where, you'll go in the morning, you'll come back, sit behind the counter. There'll be one, teller counter where, you have to interact with one cashier, one teller, and then the rest of the people will sit behind. So, our, one of the things that I see happening in the selling side is to say, how are you going to enable this whole shift in, the way people are approaching sales in the first place? Because while a lot of stuff is done in terms of customer profiling, how do I identify the spending habits of customer? What should you really talk to this customer about? Let's say if customer A walks in, you have to talk to them about, let's say, the vacation that they had. The customer, because, I have credit card data which says that they've, spent 3 days in Goa. While customer B walks in, I know that I have to talk about, let's say, the new car that they purchased or whatnot. The question is somebody going to have that conversation? And what will make this person initiate that? Because all this data, like, the other version of question that you asked him is, what's the point of having the data if customers don't buy? Same way, what's the point of giving data which nobody ends up using? So I think that's where the focus is on saying how, how do you make this actually used by somebody? Because it's like you can take the horse to water, so that's the same analogy. So.
Sure. Also, what needs to understand is, how do I make the person feel comfortable in talking about certain things, and that comes with a lot of learning.
Yes.
So if you have a good learning and development AI-based kind of thing, where you can actually take a video of the person when he's trying to sell a product, and then analyze it. The manager can analyze it, and then actually give particular feedback on what he needs to work on. That's where the real the inertia of selling, or just even talking about sale comes in. I think that's where the basic problem lies with when you go and hire, you give us clear indication that 80% of your job is selling and 20% is, but within 3 months of joining, it becomes reverse. You know why? Because you see, हमको तो बुरा ही नहीं था. So it's quite a thing, and that's where how you build up a model on learning and development comes in, and that will take you to the next level, because people are very hesitant to talk about a certain thing when they're not very comfortable with it. That's where the real AI effect can really make a difference.
And maybe if I can add, I
Sure.
think one of the reasons that people, at least when we have spoken to people, is that there's always this fear of looking like an idiot in front of somebody, that
Exactly.
I would rather talk about that one thing that I'm comfortable with. It could be a product, it could be hi, hello, cricket match. Everybody has their own.
There's always a way to break the ice. So I think some people to talk about sports, and it's also how you connect with the customer. I think that's what makes a real difference.
Yeah, sure. So I'm done with my questions. Wish I would have some more time, but before I wrap up, maybe anyone wants to add maybe 30 seconds more specifically on future of AI. Anyone? Future of AI, or how you're going to do it, if it's not a typical confidential or your view. Anyone?
It's a reality. It's a reality which is coming. We have to embrace it, and I think people are, there's always a phase of adoption. When you find something, there's a excitement. After excitement, there is a shock. Then there's a denial. I think we are still in an excitement phase. Still not fathomed what's going to hit us. I think jobs are going to get disrupted, but they're not going to get replaced. People have to upskill themselves. I see the inequality increasing significantly. We have talked about income inequality. I would say there's going to be a cognitive inequality 20 years down the line. You'll have situations where people who have not applied intelligence when they're growing up. I'm not talking about educational degrees. I'm talking about people who are cognitively developed, basic reasoning skills. Because AI can be used as an assistant. The only difference between the industrial revolution and this is, when machines came in, humans were operating machines and the processes around it. The difference with AI is, the software is learning on its own. Now, when we started these neural networks and everything, they were mimicking the human brains and learning on its own. But now it is creating its own models. What if tomorrow AI creates a new language, a new mathematical language, which humans don't fathom? That's a possibility. Now, human brain is not
experience.
human brain is not going to evolve that fast. So it's important to not only I'm not going into the regulations of it, but purely in organizations, it's important that people start learning about it and upskilling themselves.
Sure. So AI, the mission impossible, I think, should be the title for our next session.
As Modi ji says, America, India.
Great. Thank you so much for listening to us very patiently, and thank you so much, the lady and the gentleman, for sharing all the perspectives that matters a lot specifically on the AI. Thank you so much for being part of ETBFSI. Thank you. Thank you so much.
ETBFSI and Sharpsell.AI thanks all the dignitaries present over here. Now I request Mr. Arun, please. I request speakers to remain here for some time. I request Mr. Arun first to felicitate our first speaker, Mr. Ashok Suvarna. Please come forward, Mr. Ashok Suvarna, so that we can. Please, let's have a clap. I request Arun to felicitate Mr. Amit Kumar Khan. Now I request Mr. Sanjay Sharda. Thanks a lot. I request Ms. Ranju, please come on the stage. Now I would like to request Amol to felicitate our next speaker, Mr. Anish Chaudhary. Here comes the next speaker, Mr. Pratim Mukherjee. Now I would like to request Mr. Abhijit Angane. And thanks to Mr. Vijay Vasudevan. Let's have a group picture. I request cameraman to let's have a. Thanks everyone for your valuable support and time.